I thought I was clear. No kids. Ever. But what my wife hid from me, and what I found buried in an old journal, shattered me in ways I still don't know how to name. What she confessed next not only broke my trust, it nearly ended our marriage. And the worst part? I didn't even see it coming. My name's Derek. I'm 29. I've been married to my wife, Hailey, for just over 3 years. She's my world. The kind of woman who makes every conversation feel like music and every silence feels safe. We were best friends before we were anything else. That kind of history doesn't come easy, and it's why what happened hit like a betrayal I didn't think she was capable of. From the start, I'd always been upfront. I didn't want children. I told her this the same way some people say they don't want tattoos: firm, definitive, no room for ambiguity. Hailey said she understood. She nodded, kissed me, and said she didn't want kids either. At least, that's what I believed. Then one quiet Sunday afternoon, while I was building a new bookshelf I'd ordered to surprise her, everything changed. I was setting her books back up: memoirs, psychology texts, old planners she refused to throw away, when I saw it. A weathered, spiral-bound journal with sun-faded stickers on the front. I smiled. I hadn't seen it in years. It was her vision board notebook. From college, the one she used to map out her goals, tape magazine cutouts, and scribble dreams in glitter pen. I flipped it open, expecting nostalgia. Instead, I found 2 crisp pages that made my stomach turn cold. Prenatal vitamins. Baby names. Ultrasound appointment listings. A comparison of cribs and OBGYN ratings in our area. All in her handwriting. All recent. I stared at the pages so long my vision blurred. My pulse pounded in my ears like I'd run a mile. I wasn't just shocked, I was disoriented, like I'd just found a stranger living inside my wife's body. When she got home, I didn't wait. I showed her the pages. I asked her what it meant. That's when she dropped the bombshell. Hailey had gotten pregnant almost 1.5 years ago, and she'd had an abortion. Without telling me. Without so much as hinting she was even going through something. She said she didn't want to burden me. She said she knew how I felt and didn't want to trap me into fatherhood. I couldn't speak. My mouth moved but nothing came out. When I finally found words, they weren't calm or kind. I didn't yell often, but that night I did. I didn't lay a finger on her, but my voice did damage. I was devastated. Betrayed. And more than anything, I felt like I'd failed her, failed us. What haunted me most wasn't just the abortion, it was how she had gone through it alone. How I had been there, living in the same house, and never noticed. No signs. No clues. Just silence. I left the next morning. Packed a bag and went to my sister's place. I told Hailey I needed space. She didn't argue. She just nodded, tears streaking her cheeks. It's been 11 days. I still don't know what to do. I want to come home. I want to hold her. But I also can't stop asking myself, if she felt she couldn't trust me with this, what does that say about our future? And then there's the worst thought of all, the one that wakes me up at 3 a.m., heart racing. What if she's been hiding other things too? I sat on my sister's guest bed with a mug of cold coffee and Hailey's journal still burned into the back of my eyes. I hadn't opened it again. I couldn't. The pages felt radioactive. But my mind couldn't stop replaying everything. The entry, the conversation, her voice when she told me. I did it for us. But it didn't feel like she did it for us. It felt like she did it for me, alone. And that made it worse. When we finally texted again, it was surface level. Did you eat? Hope you're sleeping okay. Never. Are we okay? Because either of us knew the answer. I tried to distract myself by making lists. Rational, logical, emotionless lists. Pros and cons of going back. Of staying away. Of asking more questions. But none of it worked. Because this wasn't logical. This wasn't clean. 4 days in, I called her. She answered on the first ring. Derek? Her voice cracked my chest open. I hadn't realized how much I missed hearing it. How lonely silence could feel when it used to be filled with her laughter. I need to talk to you, I said. That night I went home. We didn't say much at first. She made tea. I paced. Eventually we sat on opposite ends of the couch like two strangers who knew too much about each other to pretend they didn't care. I asked her when she found out. She said she was 6 weeks when the test turned positive. That she didn't tell me because she was scared. Scared I'd look at her differently. Scared I'd leave. And maybe the cruelest truth of all, she was scared she'd want to keep it if I showed even the slightest warmth. That wrecked me. She wasn't wrong to be scared. I had been so immovable in my beliefs. Proudly anti-kid, borderline smug about it. I used to joke about vasectomies at dinner. I made it clear, no diapers, no playdates, no bedtime stories. Ever. So she took that to heart. She told me she cried in the bathroom after taking the pills. That she lay on the floor with a heating pad while I brought her ginger tea, thinking she was just having a rough period. That she wanted to tell me but didn't trust the version of me she'd created in her head. The one who wouldn't compromise. The one who'd feel trapped. I asked her something I hadn't asked yet. Why did she put the baby stuff in the journal? She hesitated. It wasn't a plan, she whispered. It was a way to grieve. That's when I understood. This wasn't just a betrayal. It was a funeral. One she held by herself. She mourned something she wasn't allowed to say she wanted. She tucked it between 2 pages like it was safer on paper than in our marriage. And suddenly I remembered something from years ago. When I was 16, my mom had a miscarriage. She sat me down and said, "Some losses stay quiet because the world won't let you grieve out loud." I didn't get it then. I do now. I asked Hailey if she regretted it. She paused. Not because she didn't know, but because she didn't want to lie. Yes, she said. But not because of the choice. Because of the silence. I didn't know what to say to that. So I said nothing. I just reached for her hand. That was the moment something shifted between us, not healed, not fixed, but shifted. A new weight, a new truth, something neither of us knew how to carry. But we were finally carrying it together. The day after our conversation, Hailey went back to work and I sat on the porch, watching the rain drip from the gutter like a clock melting down the side of a bad dream. I kept replaying her face when she said she mourned in silence. I saw her crying on the bathroom floor again, only now in my mind's eye. I was outside the door, clueless, useless, and worse, comfortable in my own certainty. But what haunted me more than her grief was something I hadn't told her. Something I hadn't told anyone. When I was 16, my ex-girlfriend got pregnant. It was messy, fast, and over before I could even process it. She didn't tell me until after. She took care of it herself, said she didn't want to derail my future, said she was fine. I believed her. I wanted to believe her. I never told Hailey. We talked about exes, sure, but never that. I told myself it didn't matter. That it was ancient history. But it did matter. Because when Hailey told me what she'd done, it didn't feel like a first. It felt like a haunting. Like history repeating itself, and once again, I was the guy left standing outside the door. That night I told her. We were brushing our teeth in silence, our new normal. I turned to her, toothbrush in hand, and said, "I have something I need to say before it starts rotting me from the inside out." She looked up, toothpaste foaming at the edges of her mouth, and nodded. So I told her. About the girl. About the silence. About how I didn't grieve then because I didn't understand. About how this, her, us, had reopened something I'd never dealt with. She didn't get angry. She didn't cry. She reached out and took my hand. For the first time since this all began, I felt like we were both standing on the same side of the wreckage, not pointing fingers across it. And that's when she told me something I'll never forget. "When I asked you if you wanted kids again, it was after the abortion. I wasn't testing you. I was wondering if you'd changed." That hit harder than I expected. Because I had changed. Not completely. I still didn't want a kid, Not now, not in this world, not with my current life. But I wasn't that same hard line, never ever no way guy anymore. I just hadn't realized it until it was too late. We sat on the floor in the hallway like two kids caught in a storm. No big declarations. No promises. Just truth. Raw, unfinished, and finally mutual. And then came the moment I'll never forget. She pulled out the journal. The same one I'd found, the one that started all this. She handed it to me and said, "There's one more page." I opened it. It wasn't about babies. It wasn't about cribs or vitamins or prenatal plans. It was a single sentence written in her neatest handwriting. "He doesn't want kids. But I love him more than I want to be a mother." I blinked so hard the words blurred. She had written it 3 days after taking the pills. That's when I realized her love had always been louder than her grief. She just didn't know how to say it. And now, either of us knew what to do with that kind of love. 2 nights later, we sat at opposite ends of our bed with the silence pressing on us like heavy snow. The journal was still on the nightstand, untouched since she showed me that sentence. But its weight lingered in the room, dense and electric. We were doing what we always did when things got hard, tiptoeing around the heart of it, waiting for the other person to speak first. "I don't think I trust you," I finally said. Quiet. Not angry. Just tired. She looked up, startled. "You don't trust me?" "I don't mean like I think you'll cheat on me," I said. "I mean, I didn't see you hurting. I didn't see it at all. And now I keep wondering what else I've missed. What else you've hidden. Not because you're malicious, but because you think I can't handle the truth." She sat very still. Her eyes glossed over, but she didn't cry. "Not yet." "I didn't think you could," she whispered. I nodded. That was the answer I'd feared. And that's when everything changed. She pulled her knees up to her chest and said, "Do you want to know something horrible? I didn't cry after the abortion. I didn't feel grief. I felt relief." Her voice cracked, but it wasn't from sorrow. It was from shame. "I hated myself for that," she said. "I kept waiting to break. Waiting for the regret to hit me like a truck. But it never did. Not the way I expected. And I thought if I told you, you'd see me differently. Like some monster." I didn't breathe. Not right away. "That's not horrible," I said after a long pause. "That's honest." "No," she said, shaking her head. "I should have been devastated. I had a life inside me. I ended it. And all I felt was freedom." She covered her mouth like the words had escaped her body without permission. And still, I didn't pull away. Because in that moment, I realized something. Hailey didn't lie because she didn't love me. She lied because she thought I couldn't love all of her. Even the parts that felt cold, conflicted, uncertain. The parts that didn't fit the image of the woman I thought I married. The illusion had broken. And strangely, what was left felt more real than anything we'd ever built before. So I told her something else. "I'd have raised that kid," I said. "Not because I wanted to, but because I love you. And if I'd known, I'd have held your hand every step of the way." She stared at me like I'd just opened a door she didn't know she'd locked from the inside. Then she asked the question I knew was coming. "Do you want kids, now?" I opened my mouth. Closed it. Tried again. "No. But I don't want you to suffer either. And I don't know how to fix that." That was the truth. Brutal, clean, and hopelessly in between. She didn't respond. Instead, she stood, walked over to the dresser, and opened the bottom drawer. She pulled out a folded sheet of paper. Handed it to me. It was an appointment slip. Dated 3 weeks before the abortion. She had scheduled a couples counseling session. She never told me. Never followed through. Cancelled it the morning after she took the pills. "I thought it was too late," she said. I looked at the slip, then at her. "It's not," I said. Her shoulders sagged like I'd let air out of a balloon that had been overinflated for a year and a half. It was the first time we both cried in the same moment. A month passed. Then two. The sharp edges of what happened dulled, but they didn't disappear. Hailey and I started going to couples therapy. Not because we had a roadmap, because we didn't. But because we'd already spent too long pretending we could navigate this alone. We learned to talk without flinching. To listen without preparing comebacks. We didn't solve everything. Some days we barely scratched the surface. But we showed up. That was new. I stopped sleeping at my sister's. I came home for good. We laid down new rules. No more silent suffering, no more one-person decisions on two-person problems. We agreed, if either of us ever wanted to revisit the idea of children, we'd say so. Out loud. In daylight. But we also gave each other permission not to know. To still be figuring it out. And for the first time, the future didn't feel like a verdict, it felt like a question we'd answer together. Until one afternoon, everything shifted again. I was reorganizing our hall closet, pulling down old coats and winter bins, when a shoebox fell from the top shelf. I caught it awkwardly, then sat down, thinking maybe it was one of her old sketchbooks. It wasn't. It was filled with letters. Every one addressed to the baby. They were undated. And signed. Just pages of unspoken thoughts, some rambling, some poetic, some terrifyingly calm. In one, she wrote, "I think you would have had my smile and his stubbornness. God help us both." In another, "He said he didn't want kids. I said I didn't either. But I think I lied." And in the last one, folded more carefully than the rest, "If you'd stayed, I would have figured it out. I would have fought for you. But I loved him more than I loved the idea of you. That's the truth." I sat there for over an hour, reading every letter like a man decoding a message from a ghost. That night I didn't confront her. I didn't ask why she hadn't told me, or what it meant. I just lay beside her, tracing the shape of her shoulder with my fingertips, and whispered, "I would have figured it out too." She didn't ask what I meant. She just nodded. That was the night I knew. We were still scarred, still broken in ways, but we were also still choosing each other, day by day, truth by truth. We're not perfect. We still argue. Some mornings, I look at her and wonder if she's picturing what could have been. Some nights, I lie awake wondering if I robbed us both of a life neither of us fully understood. But we talk now. We stay in the same room. We don't disappear. And maybe that's what real love is, what's left when every illusion falls away. Not what you dream, but what you stay for.